Hello class, I'm gonna show you how to set up a ZDepth in Max so you can render it out in Nuke and set up a depth field. Okay, so first of all we're gonna press F10 to get the render panel here, and under AOVs here we're gonna go to add AOV, under built-in all the way at the bottom here there's a Z. This gives us a Z depth, and then click add. Okay, so that should be there. And then under common here, a single here, I'm going to set it to HDTV 920 by 1080 here, and then save it out as an EXR file. Okay, so I'm just going to create another folder here, go to call it render, and call it my models test.exr, and when you click on save it should pop up another window, or you can click on setup here and make sure that this button is clicked. That will automatically add in your Z-depth in here, so you don't have to manually insert it in here. Click OK, click on save. Okay, and now I'm going to press render. Well, before we do that, make sure your settings are good. Maybe 5 or so, 2 or 3 light bounces. This is how many bounces or calculations it makes in indoors. So if you have an indoor one, you might want to put it at 2 or 3. Okay, if you have a lot of specular or glass, set these high. If you have subsurface scattering, this dragon here, I have that as a subsurface scatter material, so I set it at 4, a little bit high. Okay, and click on render. Okay, it's going to take a while, so I'm going to pause my scene here. Okay, so it's done rendering, so we're going to bring it into Nuke. Okay, so here are the 2 renders. Okay, I'm going to press 1 with my main diffuse rendered selected here. Press 1, and then on my Z-depth channel, press 2 here. And I'm going to press G for my grade, and I'm going to bring the multiply down. Okay, to just where I start to get a good gradient here. Okay. Now the objective is to get this to be as black as possible and this as white as possible. So we can manipulate these sliders here. Okay. And also I want Nuke, how it handles this is it takes the white as the closest and the black as the furthest. So I'm going to press on my grade, select my grade, and hit tab and find invert. So invert the colors here. So now the white is in front and the black is in back, and I go back to my grade here, double click, and adjust this until I get this nice gradient here. Okay. Okay. So remember, ideally you want this as white as possible and the further back as black as possible. Something like this. Okay. Now what we want to do is use a shuffle copy to add this Z-depth into the channel of this. Okay, so I'm going to select my 3D render diffuse and press tab and type in shuffle copy. Choose shuffle copy here. Okay, and pipe my number 1 into my invert here. Okay, and I'm going to select all my red channels. Okay, if I press 1 on my shuffle copy here, I get my red channel of this, and then the output of this, I'm going to click on new, and I'm just going to call this my Z. You can name it whatever you want. I like to do capital Z so I can easily see it. And then click on RGBA so we populate all the channels, and click OK. Okay, and once you do that, this is now inside of a ZZZ channel of this image. Okay, and I'm pressing 1 in here to see this. Now if you want to make sure that it's in here, we can go to this right here and you'll find it in here. And if we select this, we can view that Z channel. Okay, I'm going to go back to my RGBA here, and underneath my shuffle copy, I'm going to hit tab again, and I'm going to type in Z defocus. Okay, there you go. And under my depth channel here, I'm going to select my Z. You can select the red channel here. Okay, and now we can move this focal point to where we want to focus on. So let's say I want my T-Rex to be in focus. So my T-Rex will be in focus, and everything else further away from that color will be out of focus. So we can see the background is out of focus and our foreground is out of focus, and we can exaggerate that more if we want, clicking on the size here. Okay, so and that adds in our depth of field. And generally after that, we can with this selected, you can press G here for another grade, for the overall grade here. And I like to push my black point a little bit to get more contrast, and maybe my white point. Okay, and for my gamma, I can click on this circle here and expand and drag anywhere here, and we can tint our scene however color we want. Get a warmer color or colder color. Okay, so just a little bit of this to set the mood of your shot. Okay, and so that's basically using Nuke just to enhance your image. Okay, so this will depend on your look and feel and how you want your 3D render to look. Okay, I'm just going to go for a little warm color here. So by clicking and dragging in and out, that's how intense the color is, and which color you want by going around here. Not too much in this case. And I can press Q here to turn off my icon. Okay, spacebar here. Spacebar is to expand, and H is to maximize. Okay, and if I'm happy with what I have, I can now, under my grade, press W to write, and for file here, click on here and export out to where I want to save it. So save it to my desktop, and I'll just name it out here, my final render dot JPEG. Enter and change the quality to 100 and render, and click OK, and I now have my final image. Okay. And here it is.